Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Discord. To my right is main man Roy Weedmark. I'm Michael Papp. Okay, today we're going to actually start a little intro to upcoming podcast, Paranormal Backlash. Okay, basically the concept is that as paranormal investigators, we're going on these cases, and we get a lot of reports. Of a piggyback effect that's actually affecting some investigators at their homes. So, it's an intriguing topic. Both of us have had experiences, so we're going to go in a little detail. So, Roy,
So without going in, hours long here, so my background real quick is I never had anything paranormal before I started doing this. I've always just had an interest, passing interest. So started going out to cases, had some really good spots right off the bat. Oh, I mean, the best spots I've ever been in. And I've never had anything happen before that. So been doing that for a while. I come home, and I think the first time I ever went, I woke up the next day with a handprint on my arm. I still have a picture of that somewhere. I woke up with a handprint on my arm, and we thought it was a bruise until it came out as a fully detailed handprint. Right? It starts off there. I actually thought it was cool. Thought it was the coolest thing that ever happened to me. Then later on, as I kept going, you start hearing. I'd be in the house with myself, and I start hearing the cupboards opening, just barely closing. So I thought, okay, I'm just hearing it. It wasn't constant, so it wasn't just happening all the time. It was something that would happen once here, once there, once again, and then it kind of grew into had some knocking. No big deal. Knocking could be a house settling, whatever. Until I was upstairs in a room I don't ever go in, the door handle started like something was trying to open the door handle. My wife at the time.
were any of the windows open inside the room?
No, so this door we don't ever go in, so the windows were closed. Right in the hallway, there are no windows to really have open. My wife at the time was standing there, and we're both sitting there looking at going, what the heck is going on? So I thought it was a vent, maybe the air conditioner kicked on, the vent sucked open the door or whatever. Didn't happen because I never had it happen again, right? Later on, this is the cool part. It escalated into footprints. Footsteps, not footprints.
Like no actual noises.
Like if you're walking across a wood floor upstairs, like you would expect anybody to walk upstairs, you hear the right. So it happened. I don't know exactly what happened. So I remember one instance, my son and I were sitting in my bed, and my parents, his grandparents, were downstairs, and we start hearing footsteps down the hallway, and he hears it and goes, "Oh my God, Grandma's coming up! Grandma's coming!" So I'm sitting there on the bed waiting for her to pop her head into the door. Footsteps stop. So I'm like, what the heck's going on? I get up out of bed, I turn the corner, and there's nobody there at all. Nobody there. There have been instances where I've been downstairs by myself again, and you hear someone just walking across. I started trying to investigate the hallway. I never got any, what you would call evidence. I took pictures everywhere.
Just, not to break into you, but now, were these experiences, right after a case? Was it, like a lot of people report saying, they go out on the case within about a 24-hour effect, they get some of the major events.
Good question, and no. So I believe some of it escalated from the first place I ever went to. It was an empty building for sale, where I heard things being thrown, footsteps. That's where I got touched. I saw things, like whispers in my ear, heard things tell me they were going to kill me, on EVPs, whatever. But not that I know of. I mean, this was years ago, so it's hard for me to remember. I kept hearing footsteps, and I felt like the activity was happening in one central area, and it's the hallway upstairs.
What did all this actually, what's the biggest thing that it actually escalated to?
So, the last time that I remember it happening, I was downstairs by myself playing video games, and you hear the usual footsteps, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, you hear against the floor, you hear like, and I just kind of sit there in the chair, just going, okay. I thought something fell over. It was directly against the floor, and you can tell. You can always tell when it's directly against the floor. It's in a two-story house. I go upstairs. Nothing had fallen over. Everything was in its place.
Kids were accounted for.
There's no one home with me. So, of course, I immediately looking around, just trying to find something. And I go, okay, that's interesting. And then, of course, my mind goes, okay, I've already had footsteps going on, whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna right off the bat. I mean, I'm not as skeptical as you are. I'm open to it, right? I would like there to be an afterlife. That'd be great.
That's why you're in the
Right. That's why I do it. No, I would love to there to be an afterlife to know, hey, once I die, there's something beyond. Great. That is why I do it. I don't readily attribute anything to paranormal. That I kind of because since I've left there, I haven't had really. I mean, I've had isolated incidents, as I told you.
Yeah.
The new house I live in, couch cushions have been flipped up, doors have been opened. When I'm not there, I've heard reports of the TV being turned. Isolated incidents like that. I love it. I wish it would happen more often. I mean, I know you said you had some too, though.
Yeah. And pretty much I'm going to agree with a lot of what you said. I only been an investigator for about 3.5 years now, and I never ever believed in the paranormal. I mean, I never had a fact. I was never not even open-minded to it, really. I am still very skeptical to this day, but since I've been getting into this field, I can say yes, I had experiences, and mine are a little bit different than yours. I mean, you've been doing it a lot longer, so I guess yours maybe kind of manifest over a period of time. It seemed with me, I mean, I remember this was probably my I don't know, 4th case, and and it was. As I'm learning to trade a little bit, I was getting into it. They're like, oh, it's a dark demonic case, blah, blah, blah. We were out with the Crossing Over Paranormal Society. And, after this case, there was some kind of, disturbing things that happened. At least back then I would consider disturbing. Well, the minute I get back home, now, mind you, this is 4 o'clock in the morning, I had the usual thing. My dog meets me instead. But this time, she pees on the floor. Okay, I think she's excited. Boom, 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 no big deal. I take a shower. She won't come in my bedroom. She starts whimpering and crying. Okay, no big deal. After my shower, I bring my dog in. She kind of runs and scurries underneath the bed, and it's just shaking. I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. No big deal. I try to go to sleep. Probably within a minute of me, kind of, resting, I hear the most, loud, similar sound, from my back closet. And, I have a window in there. And so I'm thinking someone's breaking in, I grabbed my friggin', gun, ran over to the, bedroom and like, all right, what the hell is going on? Nothing. I checked outside. No big deal. The dog's just crying, scared out of her mind, so I'm like, okay, that was kind of weird. I'm thinking maybe it's pipes, it's a newer house that I moved in. Maybe I didn't know all the noises. Well, I try to rest again, same noise. This time just a lot louder, sharper. I'm like, okay, someone's trying to kick in my door. Someone's trying to break a window. I actually got really scared. My dog runs right into the closet and starts barking. I'm like, someone's trying to kick in, get into my house. I search outside. Search inside, I have nothing. The dog just barking at my clothes. And I'm just like, okay, what's kind of going on? Now, these are just stories. What's the most interesting thing is the founder of Crossing Over Paranormal Society gives me a call. Okay, now it's 5 o'clock in the morning now. Okay, he gives me a call and says, get out of your house. Marie, another founder of Crossing Over Paranormal Society, says, get out of your house. Your dog's barking. You're hearing 2 knocks. Something's upset with you, And I thought they were playing a joke. Oh yeah, like I said, it was my 4th case. I really thought they were joking with me. This guy lives all the way out in Buckeye. I live all the way out in Maricopa City. I'm thinking he's outside playing a joke. He wasn't. Can I call it paranormal? I can call it unexplained. I don't know what to make of it.
I know what you are. You pass yourself off as a skeptic, but you're really a believer. I'm gonna start calling you Jay.
I am an open-minded skeptic, if you want to call it. I know it's a oxymoron there, but I don't know what to make of it. I still to this day don't say it's paranormal. I say something happened.
So, and I believe I was living with you when we had the thing with the fans, right?
Oh yes, that's another story, which was interesting. Is Roy actually moved in as a roommate for a while. and more activity started happening at my house. And there was actually this fan right above me over here. You can't see it on the camera, but it was started going on and off. The lights started going on and off.
Obviously, it is a remote.
Okay, so I was an electrician for a while. First thing I'm thinking is someone has a similar fan next door. Maybe it's picking up that. There's been reports of garage door openers actually affected them. I took the batteries out of the controller. Things were still going on and off. Didn't really make sure. Just ruled it off as an electrical problem. Suddenly it stopped in this room, and it started in my bedroom. Same thing, on and off, blah, blah, blah. I haven't checked it. I've got a camera, which we'll post probably a little bit later. When it started happening in another room, I was, now I'm like, okay, what's going on? The only thing that I can't say that it was paranormal, and I still rule it as just unexplained, is that they were both the same manufacturer of fan. Both bought at the same time, so I have to rule it out as a possible defect in the fans. It hasn't happened since. Haven't had any problems, but it was just interesting that that's when you were living with me. That's when we were really doing some heavy cases.
And I've had the same thing. I was writing an elliptical in the same room,
Yep.
and the wall right next to me. You weren't here. I was hearing banging all the way down the wall, and I looked outside and there's nothing there.
So, okay, so we both have stories. Okay, so now, what is it? Personally, I think a lot of it has to do with our own fear generation. Okay. I mean, you have a little bit more experience on me, but when you go to a case, you get hyped up. You get adrenaline coming on. You are susceptible to fear. It's like when I talk to a client and they're telling me, okay, I saw this most horrible beast downstairs, and I've seen this, and I've seen this.
Yeah, some people get afraid. Yeah.
It has an effect for you. I'm not going to say I'm scared to go down anything, but it does have an effect on you. It gets you amped up. You think you're going to see these things. You go looking for it at cases, and I think a lot of that's just brought home with us. Me, I live alone. I coming home after a case, we had a little bit of activity. Playing with some occult devices, whatever you want to call it. And then you come into your house. You might be manifesting these in your own mind. You might be perceiving things, a normal knock on a wall, normal,
right.
pipe
You automatically sit there and go to paranormal because you were just doing it.
Yeah,
right.
So, so I really do think a lot of that is that. Now, I have a lot of people, talk to a lot of people, and they think very differently.
Well, it depends on your view of things, right? So, if you're a believer, your first inclination, if anything happens, is it's paranormal, right? Especially, if you've been on a demonic case, right?
Ones
Right. But if you've been on a demonic case or whatever you would deem as an evil entity, and then you go home and some things happen, automatically your mind is gonna links it all together, and you're gonna say, okay, this happened because of all this stuff here. When it could just be isolated coincidences. It could just be things where, hey, maybe kids did something, maybe your pets did something, and you just don't know, and automatically you're going, oh my God, how did that happen? How did that get there? It has to be because it followed me home, right? I mean, in order, really, to me, the idea of something follow you home really is, to me, is ludicrous, right? I mean, you're now stating that an energy has, or a spirit has the energy to follow you home, right, and cause issues in your own home. But when you're on the investigation, it doesn't have any energy to communicate with you. Like, it's like your Ouija board. Hey, move the planchette. Hey, knock on the wall. Hey, tell me something. Come touch me. Come do something like that. And nothing happens when it comes home. It makes all kinds of weird noise. It just doesn't.
So then explain those knocks.
I can't
explain.
So that's why I leave the possibility open, right? So I don't, like I said, I don't attribute things necessarily to paranormal, right? So later on, as the things continue to happen in my home, I paid less and less attention to it, right? So when that big bang happened, I just kind of sat there and like, I'm not going to go running up there because, so I continued to play my game for a while, and then I finally went up there and go, okay, I'm expecting to find something that fell on the floor, it just happened not to be there, right? So I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be paranormal, but I agree with you that automatically, especially doing what we do, your mind automatically goes there. Normal people who don't believe in paranormal, if something happens, they're going to find it and they're going to brush it off and they're going to move on about their day.
Exactly.
We don't.
We're observant.
Right.
You know, we you know, the field trains you to observe everything, to listen to everything. So I mean, maybe it's our imagination, or maybe
So I mean, like we've talked about before. So when there are, especially in Arizona, we're in Arizona. Indians die here. You have, a bunch of wars. This used to be part of Mexico, so you had that going on. You had, tons of wars fought here. Millions, probably thousands, millions of dead people.
But
Who's to say that something followed you home? I mean, who's to say it wasn't something that's already around?
well, I mean, my argument with that is that the world's been around for a long time, 10,000 years. Humans been floating around. There's death everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, I can't even take that into the equation. It's like, yeah, right now where I'm standing, probably someone died. Oops, is it really affecting us? I don't know. I mean, like I said,
Well, that's why a lot of so I know I've talked to tons of people. Some of them never had anything happen, right? Who are paranormal investigators all over the world. You talk to them, hey, nothing's ever happened, nothing that they will pay attention to. Then you have certain people that do, things that happen, and again, none of it. I would love to believe that they're spirits, and I would love to believe the things that happen in my house, things that happen here, things that happen there are all paranormal. But again, after a while, it tends not to make sense, right? So, again, your energy should be released, right? So, to have something that would follow you home, if you start really scientifically thinking about
but
it.
see, I mean, right now we're only really talking about is the paranormal always just have to deal with life, death,
right.
I mean, the paranormal could be, other possibilities too. I mean, it doesn't have to be, a lost relative or, the murderer that died in your house. It's
Right. So we go into homes thinking we're going to do research on a case that we're doing, and somebody died in the house. Okay, so automatically that's
we
the person
link
that's
it,
there, right?
and but
Yeah. So when we sit there and go, and no one's died in your house, so it's not as fun anymore.
So did you believe that? Let's get back on base with the paranormal backlash. Do we actually believe that there are effects from us going out in the field?
From my experiences, something has happened. Again, I've never had anything happen in my residence until I started. So I would have to say that I don't want to say 100% there's a correlation, but I would have to say that, there's a pretty good likelihood that that's what started it.
I have to agree there, and like I said, I mean, like I said, I'm not. I have to say that things have happened to me since I joined this field. I mean, there's things that I would never have ever even observed. I could even get more detail, but you got to stay tuned for some of our future episodes. Next one we're going to do, this is going to be on running. We're going to bring in Jay Yates, possibly
Marie Yates, founders of Crossroad Paranormal Society, to discuss what's happening there. Because they have a lot more that's happened. They've been doing it longer than both of us have.
Yep.
So they have a lot more that's happened to them than we can attest to. I mean, they have many more stories than I probably even know. Right.
So stay tuned for another episode of Paranormal Discord, featuring our backlash stories. Good night.